Okay, welcome everybody. Ilan Asbel here. I'm the CEO of Autochartist.com. I welcome you to today's webinar. I'm going to be doing something slightly different. I'm not going to be presenting my usual overview of the Autochartist platform. I'm going to be talking specifically about setting up Autochartist for your trading requirements. And I think what I'm going to be doing in this presentation is I'm going to be configuring Autochartist the way I trade and the techniques that I use trading. And of course, you can apply similar techniques or of setting up Autochartist for your trading style. Everyone has very different trading styles and enjoy looking at different trading opportunities. And so one cannot impose one's own view of using a certain tool on others. But certainly I'll give you my perspective on how best to use Autochartist, certainly how I use Autochartist. I'm first going to be reading you a disclaimer, because what I'm going to be doing in today's presentation is I'm actually going to be bringing in some of the performance statistics into my presentation, and I'm going to be customizing Autochartist around the performance stats. And then I also want to be just outlining a bit of terminology that I'm going to use throughout the presentation, and I'm basically going to assume that you guys are familiar with that terminology. So the first things first is a disclaimer. It's not on your screen, but past performance is not indicative of future results, so we are going to be talking about performance statistics. That's how Autochartist performed in the past. It's no indication of how it will perform in the future. This presentation is not a solicitation to trade or solicitation to place any trades with your broker partner. Please do not trade money which you are not prepared to lose. Trading is a high-risk venture. Okay, now that we've got the formalities out the way, let me hit the ground running and let's get going on this presentation. So the first things first, let's talk about some terminology. The first piece of terminology that I want to talk to you all about is completed versus emerging patterns. Okay, so what I have on my screen right now is an emerging pattern on USD SGD. Let me actually bring another one up on Euro USD, if for those of you who don't trade Singapore dollar. Well, I guess it's as good example as any. I see the internet's a bit slow. Your screens are slow to refresh. Okay, there we go. So here's the Euro USD example. Okay, so now Euro USD, this is an example of what we call an emerging key level. An emerging key level is very simple to understand. If you watch where I'm circling the screen, you can see that the opportunity, the price graph has not yet broken through a support or resistance level. In this case, it has not broken through a resistance level. Okay, so this is still an emerging opportunity, right? So there's two ways of trading emerging opportunities. The first way is to take a position on the market right now, entry at the current price, with a take profit at the level to which it's going, or you can take it by setting a limit order if it's already past the resistance level. Okay, so but I think the most important thing that I want to highlight right now is the terminology I'm using. This is an emerging key level. Emerging, it has not yet crossed the resistance level. Yeah? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you something which is called a complete key level. Let me just make my screen into full screen. I'll get a bit more space here, a few more results on my screen. A complete key level looks as follows. Let's just give your screens a moment to refresh. Okay, this is what we call a completed key level. A completed key level is completed. Why? Because you can see the price graph has actually broken through the support level here. Right? So once a price is broken through, it is now completed, and Autochartist provides a forecast. Right? Okay, very important. So now you understand the difference between completed and emerging key levels. Now I want to show you the difference between completed and emerging chart patterns. So this is a completed chart pattern. Let me see if I've got a slightly better example where there's been a more definitive breakout. Okay, here's a pretty good example, which is the euro against the Great British Pound. I want to highlight again, the price has broken through a resistance level, and so this is a completed chart pattern, which now provides a forecast region, right, a forecast level, right? And then now I want to show you what an emerging chart pattern looks like. An emerging chart pattern looks as follows. This is an emerging chart pattern on Euro Australian dollar, and what you can see here is that the price has not yet broken through a support or resistance level. It's still trading in an upward trend, and Autochartist is saying to you that there's a potential move towards the support level. Okay. Now, the reason why I had a few minutes about the definition of these different chart patterns, about the completed and emerging chart patterns and key levels, is because what I'm going to do is I'm going to define some certain specific search criteria in the Autochartist platform around statistics of those different types of patterns. Now, if we go into the performance statistics section of Autochartist, you click on performance stats on the top menu item. You will see that Autochartist provides performance statistics in 3 sections: for chart patterns, for key levels, for completed key levels, and for approaching key levels. Okay, those are emerging key levels. Okay. So we only provide performance stats not on all the opportunities that Autochartist lists, but on opportunities that have a forecast region. So for example, if we look at this last example we were looking at before, which is an emerging chart pattern on Euro-AUD, Autochartist does not give you a forecast level. Okay? Therefore, Autochartist does not provide statistics on these types of patterns. So these are the kind of patterns that I avoid trading, because I am a numbers man and I like to look at the numbers, and for me the proof is in the pudding. So I typically trade completed chart patterns, completed key levels, and approaching key levels. Those are the 3 types of patterns that I actually trade. Okay, and this is what I do when I actually set up my results filter, which you can see just on the kind of the middle to the right of your screen here, the results filter. When I set up my results filter, I only look at these 3 tick boxes, which is the completed chart patterns, the completed key levels, and the emerging key levels. Of course, if you're a swing trader and you have a little bit more appetite for risk, then you can look at the emerging chart patterns. But again, as I said to you in the beginning of this presentation, or was that when I was talking to myself and my mic was muted? I don't remember. I'm just giving you an idea of how I trade and how I configure Autochartist. So let's get going and have a look at actually some of these performance statistics. The first thing I'm going to look at is, let's look at FX today, and you can see that in my version of Autochartist I have pretty much all global markets listed in my Autochartist. Depending on the broker partner through which you get Autochartist, you will get a limited subset of these markets. Okay, so for example, you might only have a line item which says Forex, or something that says Index, or something that says London Stock Exchange, or Amex. So in my case, I have access to all the markets. So what I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at these 3 performance statistics pages, and I'm going to see how I'm going to customize Autochartist to basically maximize my probability of successful trades. And today is about, the topic of today's conversation is about customizing Autochartist to suit your trading needs. I'm not sure about all of your needs, but my need is to make money. Okay, so to be honest with you, many people have different techniques of forecasting the markets, right? Some use technical analysis, some people use the weather, other people, you know, flip a coin. I don't really care what technique you use to get in and out of the market. The point is, we're all here to make money, and so I guess what I'm trying to show you in this presentation is getting Autochartist to show you the highest probability successful trades. First things first, let's look at the completed chart patterns performance statistics. And when you click on the view button on the performance stats, we'll just look at the overall statistic, although that's not really what we're going to be focusing on. Autochartist identified just over 5,500 completed chart patterns over approximately the last 6 months, of which just over 3,500 hit their forecast region, which is a percentage of about 66% of our forecast hitting our forecast region. However, I don't really want to focus on that overall statistic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually scroll down a little bit on my screen and focus on looking at the specific patterns and specific instruments that performed well or badly. Okay, so we can see immediately that patterns like ascending triangle, channel down, channel up, very, very good performance. Descending triangle was a very good performer. Double bottom was a good performer, but double bottom only had a total of 15 patterns that were identified over the last 6 months. So although it's a good performer, it's statistically possibly not relevant. Double top didn't perform very well in the last 6 months. Falling wedge and flag didn't perform very well. Head and shoulders and inverse head and shoulders did very, very well. And in fact, you'll find that across pretty much all markets. Those are the top performing technical patterns that you can find. Pennant was an absolute shocker. Right? Rectangle did pretty well. Triangle is always mediocre around the 62 to 65% mark. So immediately, just by looking at the first breakdown in Autochartist by patterns on completed chart patterns, we can immediately filter out quite a lot of the patterns that weren't actually performing very well. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be looking at the instruments themselves. Okay, and I'm going to be looking at instruments. I'm going to choose some of the instruments that are doing better than the rest. So remember, these forecasts are for across all time intervals, right? 15, 30, 60, 240, and end of day patterns. So let's look at the ones which are kind of 67, 68 and over. Euro, JPY, and actually I'm not sure if you'll all believe me, but what I'm doing right now while I'm actually talking to you is I'm actually writing down on a piece of paper which are the good performers, which are the bad performers. And so my marketing team is going to tell me that I should have prepared before the presentation, but I'll try to put myself into your shoes, right, in terms of actually collecting these statistics. What I also recommend that all of you do is you right-click on this screen, and you actually print it out and put a printout next to your desk so that while you're using Autochartist, you can actually see which are the best performing patterns. So I've written down Euro JPY, Singapore dollar JPY, or JPY. We seem to be doing quite well on the JPYs. Let's see if we can find some major cross pairs which are doing nicely. Let's have a look. See. Euro USD is not bad at 67%, so let's add that into the list. Let's see what else. NZD Swiss franc. Okay, and let's say GBP Swiss franc, GBP CHF. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Euro, Australian dollar. And US dollar Swiss franc, that's quite a major pair that does quite nicely. Let's add that onto our list. And Australian dollar Swiss franc, I think we have enough for now. Australian dollar Swiss franc. Okay, we seem to have enough for now. Oh, let's add in one more. Euro GBP. Euro GBP. Okay, so now we have quite a few items on our list. So now we have the chart patterns, the actual patterns that do really well, and we have a list of our instruments that do really well. And what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be closing down this window, and I'm going to go back into the trading opportunity section, and I'm going to be creating myself a search, a custom search around the instruments that I actually want to trade, right? So my highest probability instrument. So for example, what was on that list? Let's just see, Euro GBP. I click on Euro GBP and I click add to my list. Ord CHF. For CHF, I need to learn how to type. I need to go to typing school. USD CHF. And what I'm doing, as you can see, is I'm building up, based on my statistics, I'm building up my list of highest probability instruments. Okay, GBP, CHF, have I got enough there? I'm not sure. Let's just add in one or two more. There was Euro, USD, which wasn't too bad, if I recall, around 68% or so. Okay, so what I've done is I've created a short list of instruments which Autochartist provides good quality signals on. And what I'm doing, I'm going to be calling this my chart patterns list. And then I'm going to click on the advanced search button because I want to filter it a bit more. If you recall, the first thing we looked at was we looked at the highest probability patterns themselves, right? So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to set my filters to only show me the highest probability patterns. So I'm going to unselect triangles. I'm going to unselect the wedges. And I'm gonna keep head and shoulders and inverse head and shoulders in there. I'm gonna unselect. I think the triple bottoms didn't do very well. Neither did the triple tops, and the pennants were absolute shockers, if I recall correctly. We'll keep the double tops and double bottoms in, and the flags in. So what have I done? I've just done two simple steps. Made a list of the highest probability patterns and the highest probability financial instruments. Obviously, you can do it in a lot more detail, and I have created this custom search. I've called it my CP list, my chart patterns list, and I click on create search. Okay, and Autochartist has brought me back no results, which is rather strange. Let's see if we can add in a few more instruments in there. Euro JPY. Let's add in a few more of the high probability instruments that I added in before. SGD JPY. Okay. Or JPY. Okay. Let's save this search again. My CP list. Have I still got all of those checked in there? Yeah, okay. Let's go create search. Again, let's see what Autochartist comes back with. While it's searching for items, I am going to go back into the performance statistics section because I want to highlight one other thing which you need to look at. So I'm going to go click on the Forex performance stats for chart patterns. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll to the very bottom of the performance statistics screen, to a section which looks at the performance stats of interval versus hour of day. That means that it gives us the statistics of which data interval the chart patterns were identified on against which hour of the day they were identified on. And what we can actually see very quickly with just a simple glance is that Autochartist performs really well around during the European session. So in fact, my Autochartist is set to American New York time, and this is this data feed that we're looking at right now is Eastern Standard Time, right? So it's New York. So these numbers here, these dates and times that you're looking at right now are actually in Eastern Standard Time. So for example, from 0000 hours Eastern Standard Time straight through to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is kind of the very early morning from just before the open of London through to the close of London, the completed chart patterns have a very high probability of success rate. Okay, and I really wanted to highlight that to you all because it is very important to choose the instruments that you trade during specifically for the times of day in which you trade. And of course, everybody knows that London, the European session, is obviously the time to trade. That's when the most volatility happens in the market. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into trading opportunities, and I'm going to see if my list of my custom results list has actually come back or not. And it is taking a super long time to come back with patterns. But so I guess what I want to do then is I'm going to just talk a little bit more while we're actually getting that list of results up and running. We must have a lot of load at the moment on the servers because this is taking unusually long. Let me go back into performance stats. Okay, what I'm going to talk now while it's looking for those patterns is I'm going to be talking about the key levels, performance statistics, and the approaching key levels performance stats. So remember, so the key levels, these are the breakout statistics. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the key levels performance, and you can see the key levels performance. This is the completed key levels, right? The patterns where the price graph has actually gone through a support or resistance level. So over the last 6 months or so, we identified about 6,200 patterns, of which just over 4,500 went through their forecast level. That's about 72% on average. But again, I'm not focusing very much on that specific overall percentage, but I'm going to look specifically at the instruments which do really, really well. And we've got pretty much a green screen across here, a Great British Pound, a Swiss franc, which was actually on our chart patterns list as well, Swiss franc, Japanese yen, Euro, Great British Pound, Euro GBP, Euro ZAR. So there's quite a few which are actually really, really good performers. And in fact, most of these are actually really, really good performers. So, for example, what I would do now is I can clearly see that the key levels is actually, the breakout key levels is a really good, are very good opportunities to follow. And it looks to me that I'm cross-referencing, while I'm talking to you, I'm cross-referencing the list that we produced for the chart patterns to the list that we're seeing right now on key levels. And SGD JPY, Singapore dollar against the Japanese yen, seems to be the currency that performs well on chart patterns, but not very well on the key levels, which is quite interesting. I'm not quite sure what we can actually read into that. But the rest of them all seem to be in there. Some of the really good ones: US dollar, Swiss franc, of course, US dollar, Singapore dollar, Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. Some really, really good performance. Interesting enough, conversely, the US dollar against the South African rand doesn't do very well on key levels, but does very well on the chart patterns. So that's quite interesting. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down to the very bottom of my screen, and I'm going to show you the breakdown of the performance stats for different hours of the day. Okay, so again, although there's a much broader based high performance level in the key levels, the breakout key levels type of opportunities, you can clearly see that the real value again lies within the European session. Okay, certainly the performance is very good the rest of the day as well, but exceptional really when you're looking at the European session. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to trading opportunities, and hopefully now my my custom search has come back. Okay, good, my custom search has come back. That took a while. And now what I'm actually seeing here, remember I created this custom search based on the very good chart pattern results. Okay, so now that whole long list that I saw in my default result list, which was this currencies all intraday, which is probably a default search that you're seeing on your screens when you open up Autochartist, I've created this custom list called my CP list for completed chart patterns specifically. Now note what I've done. I've actually selected completed chart patterns only for this, for the purposes of this presentation, right? Okay, that's because my search was specifically based on the performance stats of chart patterns. And now I end up with 2 results, okay? But this is a great thing. This is not a bad thing, right? Because it'll take you hours to go through all the results, all 100, 150 results that Autochartist gives you by default. Now what we've got is we've got 2 high probability opportunities for us. One on Euro, Great British Pound, which seems to be a long-term pattern. This is a pattern which is based on end-of-day data. Let me just circle that for you so you can all see what I'm talking about. This is based on end-of-day data, and we think that the price now has broken through a resistance level, and there's potentially a reversal in the trend right now, which was predominantly bearish, and now Autochartist is saying, hey, there might be a bullish trend actually happening right now on the euro against the pound. Interesting long-term position to take. If in your trading platform you have the ability to vary your the amount of lots that you take, the amount of positions, or the amount of margin that you're actually using on your trades, then for example you would use a lower gearing for such a long-term trade, right? So that you don't get knocked out just due to noise. Or you can take maybe 1 lot instead of your normal 5 or 6 lots, or if you normally take a single lot position, you would take maybe a fractional lot position to take a longer term position on a long-term pattern such as this. The other opportunity that we've got highlighted to us is Australian dollar Japanese yen, which is a very short-term opportunity. This was identified on 60-minute data, and it's saying to us that the Australian dollar against the Japanese is potentially going down to 81.01. Okay, so now it's probably sitting at around 820 or so, 820, and so it's maybe only about 20 pips or so to be had on this, but certainly 20 pips, 20 pips, and if there's probably an over 70% chance of hitting our forecast region, you know, these are 2 really high probability patterns that you're seeing on your screen right now. So what we've done with Autochartist is, instead of looking through all the opportunities we had, which is the default search here, and let's see how many opportunities we have here in total. We've got 40 chart patterns in total. What I'm guessing here, around 52 opportunities in total. We filtered it down to 2 high probability patterns. Okay, which is for any experienced trader will tell you that that is an absolute dream scenario, right? Because you don't have to spend the day looking for opportunities. I wanna just talk about the way I trade a little bit here. So what I typically do in my trading is I typically wait for the trades to come to me. Right? I don't go out specifically forcing myself to take a position on the market. I don't wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I have to open a position in the market today. That's not what I do. I wait for the opportunities to come to me, and this is something that all of you should be doing. Don't force yourself to take the opportunity just because you feel like making money today, because what you're going to be doing is you're actually going to end up losing money because you're forcing a trade which isn't actually there. So sometimes I wake up in the morning and I actually see my trading screen completely blank. There's no opportunities for me. And you know what? I'm happy to close my laptop and walk away from the trading screen and say, you know what? Today I'm not going to be placing a trade. Why? Because I'm not going to be placing a low probability trade. I want all my trades to be high probability, high value trades. Okay. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing something similar for chart pattern searches. Okay. So for key levels, right? So we looked at the key levels, the key levels statistics just now, and what we can do is we can create a new search, right, for high value key level opportunities, right? So for example, we can add in I've just written down some of my lists which are really, really good performers, although if you recall, most of the opportunities were very high quality. So I'm just going to add in a few of the opportunities, and I'm going to be sure to miss out that Singapore dollar Japanese yen, because I recall that wasn't a high value opportunity for key levels. Okay, so I'm busy adding in a whole array of instruments. I'm doing it right in front of you so you can all see what I'm doing. and I'm adding in euro, Australian dollar, US dollar, Swiss franc. Do I have that in there already? I don't. Let's add that in there. Okay, I think we've got enough. I'm going to call my search my KL, my key levels list, and I'm going to be clicking create search. Okay, and now you can see on the top left hand side of my screen, Autochartist is going out and going to be searching for my search based on key levels. Okay, so now I'm going to be, while we're doing that, I'm going to go back and talk about some more performance statistics. I'm going to be talking about the emerging key levels, right? The statistics based on emerging key levels. Now, remember the difference between emerging and completed. That's why I went through it in the beginning of the presentation. The difference is very important. The statistics that are seen on this screen here are for key levels that are still approaching the level that was identified as support resistance, right? It has not yet broken through. So these statistics provide us an indication of how, of what probability there is of the price graph actually hitting the level that was support or resistance, that was identified as support or resistance before. So the theory around this is that the market has certain levels to which the price is attracted to, right, and goes to commonly, right? So let's have a look at this. So again, the overall statistics is about 73% out of about 15,000 patterns. That's over quite a long period of time. I'm not quite sure why that hasn't updated. About 11,000 or so hit their forecast region. And again, the patterns themselves, the resistance and the support both do very, very well. So let's not filter it by pattern. Let's look at it by the actual instruments themselves. So we see here, again, the really high performers are Great British Pound, Swiss franc, New Zealand dollar, Canadian, which is a bit of an exotic cross rate, Euro, Canadian dollar, US dollar, Japanese yen, Australian dollar, Swiss franc, US dollar, Canadian dollar, US dollar, Swiss franc. I think I said that twice. Euro, Australian dollar there, euros, euro half. Let's just quickly see New Zealand dollar, US dollar. That's quite a major one that performs very well at 78%. So what we're actually seeing here, interestingly enough, is that the performance of the emerging key levels has a very strong correlation to the instruments that we actually chose for our completed key levels list as well. So we'll just integrate those two lists. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to take the opportunity right now to actually look at the breakdown by interval. Okay, this is the first time we're looking at this specific indicator of probability, right? So this is basically the performance of certain symbols for certain data intervals, right? So for example, how likely is it if I identified an Australian dollar, Canadian dollar pattern on 240-minute candles, how likely is it to hit our forecast region? And the answer there is 77% likely. Okay, so this is also quite an interesting thing to look at, because it can actually allow you to filter your search requirements even more. Now, what I've done in my search list, in my custom search list, is I've created just the default filter for all the instruments, which is all intraday, right? So, for example, Autochartist will give me the opportunities. If I added ORD CAD in there, will give me the opportunities, all these opportunities, right? Now, if I wanted to be really specific, I could, for example, add in the opportunities for Australian dollar, Japanese yen on end-of-day candles only, right? Because those are the real high probability ones. But one needs to remember, right, that sometimes there's very few opportunities that actually come up. So I urge you not to filter it too much, but certainly to get an indication, right, that, for example, the Swiss franc, Japanese yen performs better on the longer term type of patterns, right? Euro CAD, similarly, although as a sterling performer across the board, does much better on the longer term patterns as well, right? So it's important to to look through these statistics in quite a lot of detail, and which is not what I've done here, right? I'm just trying to give you an idea of what to do, but look through them in a lot of detail when setting up your custom search criteria. And again, I'm going to be going down to the very bottom of the screen and showing you the performance per hour of the day. And for the emerging key levels, the performance is actually, well, it's superb across pretty much the entire 24-hour day. However, I want to show you something quite interesting, that whereas in the breakouts and the breakout key levels and the breakout chart patterns, the good performance was around this time zone. The good performers of the emerging key levels actually is spans a much greater region, and in fact the highest performing region is actually here and here. So it's almost as if the patterns and the levels develop before the markets open, and then they actually break out and actually execute when the European session actually opens, right? So it's almost like there's a build-up towards the end of the day in New York and the very, very early morning, and then the real breakout and everything happens during that time of day, right? So the whole thing almost builds up, and then it just breaks through. Okay, so let's go back to our actual search criteria, back to our trading opportunity section in Autochartist. I'm going to click on my key level search, and for the purpose of this search, I'm going to uncheck chart patterns, and I'm going to click the breakout and approaching key levels. Now again, our entire universe of about 50 or so opportunities has now come down to 4 opportunities. But this is a fantastic thing, because I know that these 4 opportunities give me a probability of probably higher than 75, 76% probability on average. So here we're saying that right now, Euro JPY, there's a very high probability it's going to make a very short-term movement down to 96.37. Let's have a look at the US dollar Swiss franc opportunity. Give that a moment to load up. Okay, so we're saying US dollar Swiss franc is potentially going to go down to 0.9556. We think Euro US dollar is going to go up to 125.65, and Euro JPY. Oh, that's similar. Oh, this is very interesting. This is actually a very, very interesting thing that I want to talk to you about now. I just noticed that right now. If you notice, we've actually got 2 opportunities on Euro JPY. Okay. We've got this first opportunity here and this opportunity down at the bottom here. And in fact, they're correlating in their direction. So the one is an emerging chart pattern, the one is a completed chart pattern. This is the kind of thing that I absolutely live and die for. What Autochartist is saying to us right now is that this short-term 15-minute bearish opportunity, there's been a breakout through a support level, which is clear. You can see support level, very, very strong support at 98.55. There's been a breakout through support, and this is correlated by the fact that the long-term trend, right, is actually downwards as well, right? So we can actually take a line and actually draw the support level that Autochartist identified on the short time frame, right? I'm drawing it in right now. So it looks as if it's broken through a minor support level and heading towards a more major support level at 98.37. This is certainly the kind of opportunity that I live for, and I would definitely take this opportunity and open this short. And in fact, I might just do this as soon as this webinar is over. Hope I don't miss that run. So again, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I switch between different opportunities, different screens. So then what I do is I go back to my chart patterns list. I uncheck my key levels opportunities, and I check my completed chart patterns opportunity, because that is what I based that key levels list on. Okay, so I think that's pretty much the end of my presentation. Errol, are you online with me?
Hi, Ilan.
Oh,
it's online with you.
Okay, all right. So it's not Errol, it's Candace. How are you, Candace?
Yes. Fine, thanks, and you, Ilan?
Good, thank you. So you've been listening in, obviously, and you've got some questions for me.
Yes, I do. Okay. Let's quickly check out for you.
Okay.
Do you have any advice on how to set SL while entering one of these high probability trades?
How to set up a stop loss. Okay, good,
yes.
Great question. Okay, so again, this is the way I trade. This is not necessarily the way you trade. Okay, so this is the way I trade. All right. So firstly, I must also highlight the fact that I trade using very low gearing. I do not trade on 1 to 100 or 1 to 200. In fact, I have accounts which are 1 to 5 and 1 to 10, so I have a lot more room to move, but I will tell you how I do things. Okay. When I see a trade such as this, let's look at the example we have right now on our screen, which is Euro, a Great British Pound. I'll draw some lines for you. What I like to do is I like to set my stop losses, okay, at the previous turning points. So, for example, I would potentially set a stop loss at 0.7809, okay, and definitely I would be out of the market if at 0.77, if the price moves towards there, I would definitely be out of there, okay. Now, what I would do as well, if we look at the converse of the stop loss, which is a take profit, I can see that if we look at this price graph here, there is quite a lot of consolidation previously at that level of 0.8009. So if I take a long position on Euro Great British Pound right now, I would enter the market, I would potentially take a bit of profit at this level, and if the price breaks through, take profit completely, be out of the trade completely at 0.80. Okay, and then if I take some profit at this level over here at 0.80, I would actually then set my stop loss, move my stop loss up to the previous level of consolidation, right, which is at 0.7950, right? So what I do is I would manually go and adjust my stop losses as my price moves based on previous consolidation levels in the market. This is something I do. This is not something which may suit your trading style. You just may want to set just a fixed type of a stop loss or take profit level. But again, I'm showing you what the technique that I use. I hope I've answered that question.
Thank you, Ilan. I've got another question here from Agus. Why in the American session does the Autochartist have a bad result?
Yeah, it's an excellent question, and that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? I think it's very important to remember what Autochartist is. Autochartist is not some kind of black box trading opportunity tool. Autochartist is simply an automation of existing chart pattern theory, right? Chart pattern theory and theory of support resistance is very well documented in many literatures, and Autochartist is not an inventor of this. It simply scans the market and has automated the process of identifying these levels. But now what I want to say to you is that you must remember what the theory is based on. The theory is based on market liquidity and market volatility and market psychology, right? So if you think about the FX market specifically, right, because that's a 24-hour market, the FX market, it really revolves around London, okay? I know the US equities market revolves around New York, okay? But the FX market is not primarily based in the US. It's based actually around Europe and London. So the majority of liquidity, right, happens during the London and European session. And so this is primarily where you find things like support and resistance actually playing out, because there's a lot of liquidity, a lot of people are in and out of the market, and the market psychology actually plays out during that time of day. All right? So that is actually the reason why the theory of chart patterns and support and resistance levels has a higher success rate during the London session than any other session in the 24-hour market. Okay, I hope I've answered that. Candice, anything else?
Yes, I've got a question from Clive Miller. He
Yes.
wants to know if the same principles apply for trading equities, and do you have any ideas for quality indicators?
Right. Okay. So the same definitely applies for equity trading, and in fact, I am relatively active on the U.S. Stock market, so and on the South African stock market. So I use the same techniques. Right. I go into my performance lists and actually check what performs well in different markets, and I'll show you an example of that. Let's actually quickly go into the performance stats. Let's look at, for example, let's look at New York Stock Exchange. Should we look at breakout key levels? Of course, I must highlight that for things like the New York Stock Exchange, you wouldn't potentially be looking at the time of day in which to trade, because you should be able to trade pretty much any time of day, because it's an 8-hour market, right? It's not a 24-hour market. But remember that the volatility in the first hour or hour and a half of the day is much higher than the rest of the day. So you can't set, if you're going to open a position in the first half of the day, or let's say the first hour or two of the day in New York, you can't set your stop losses very close to your opening price, because you'll get knocked out really quickly. So for example, on the New York Stock Exchange over the last 6 months or so, it looks as though the support levels have actually been outperforming the resistance levels substantially. Okay, and it looks like we have a few very, very good performers. For example, NLY, SVU, LCC have done really, really well. GA. So, and then the nice thing is that we have complete transparency here, right? So Autochartist will actually show you which instruments we actually did really badly in. So, you know, if you get a signal on Autochartist for example, NM, don't trade it, right? So yes, certainly the same principles definitely do apply to the equities market.
Do we have time for another question?
Yes, let's go for one more, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay, fantastic. A question from Robert Crow. He'd like to know, well, he's wondering why so often the age column shows 0 candles, even after an opportunity has been identified for quite some time.
This is a great question, and in fact, I have a great answer for that. There was a bug in our system which was recently resolved. So I'm not sure if the new version is going to go out this weekend, or if it's already gone out. But there, guys, I did identify this as a bug in the system, and this should not be happening probably from next week Monday. You shouldn't see any of that anymore. The age column will be representative of how long ago the pattern was identified. So apologies for that, but we don't write perfect software, far from perfect, but we try our best to keep up with the bugs.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ilan.
Okay, good. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today, this morning, afternoon, and evening. I hope you've enjoyed this webinar. There will be a recording, right, Candice? You are going to post a recording, correct?
Yes, we will be posting the recording. Okay,
fantastic. And that'll be on our YouTube channel, on our website. And, of course, don't forget to visit our resources and education section on the application. And that will, I think, got a link to all the recordings that we've got and all the webinars coming up in the future. Hope you enjoyed this presentation. Please send us feedback to support@autochartist.com. With any feedback or any more questions that we haven't addressed today, and we'll be happy to respond. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ilan.